Welcome back to the shop, everybody. It is a cold, very cold day. Over the past 4 days, it has been raining pretty consistently with some really low temperatures. What that's caused is a lot of washout, muddy, wet areas at the shop, and it's been rather difficult for me to try and get over to the shop. Again, there's also still no heat here, so I can't spend too much time here today, but what I am going to do, I am finally at the point where I think I can start trying to figure out how to mount my headlights onto this vehicle. I've got the headlights wired up, I've got the wiring harness figured out, I've just got to go ahead and actually figure out how to get it to the car. It's a lot easier said than done, but let's go ahead and get started here on the Yankee Auto Systems. One of the major problems that I have been faced with in the volunteer build is building it to a very specific style. What that means is that I'm trying to have round headlights that mount somewhere within this vicinity here that make it look like that old school 30s Ford sedan style. That's what I'm going for on this one. It's a lot easier to figure out because I have a lot more options as far as looking at headlights and what I'm going to put on the car. But the problem lies in actually mounting everything to the car itself. Now, for those that don't know, these cars are made out of fiberglass. The bodies are not rigid, they're not steel. There's not a lot of places that you can actually affix headlights to easily, so that presents a lot of issues figuring out exactly how you're going to do it and where you're going to do it. The problem that I'm going to face particularly on this car is the additional items on the car. Over on the passenger side, it does have that oil vapor bottle that mounts right to the frame rail there. And on the driver's side, there is a oil filter relocation kit that's mounted to the frame rail. The problem that presents with both of those items is the frame rail is going to be probably the best place to mount the headlights. So what I've been trying to figure out and think of doing is getting my headlights, which are in this box, one of them anyway. These headlights are to be mounted on the bottom. There's a little bracket there on the bottom. My thought is to have some kind of bracket or piece of metal for those to mount to. That'll give me the ability to turn the headlights side to side, and the bracket bolt here gives me the ability to pitch upwards or downwards to get the position that I need. Now, positioning of the headlights is not necessarily going to be a problem, but placement of the headlights is going to be the problem. So that's what I'm going to be working on, is trying to figure out the best way to get these headlights mounted to the car in the place that I want them to. I may have to move some things around. I don't think I can really move that oil filter relocation kit, but I might be able to move the oil vapor bottle so I can get some access to the frame rail. Inside of what you would call, I guess, the engine bay, the oil vapor bottle may easily be able to be moved. And here's what I'm thinking. I can't easily move the oil filter relocation kit over there, but this oil vapor bottle, there really is no reason why I shouldn't be able to move it. It's just catching over the extra oil vapors from the crankcase and the transmission when the vehicle is in operation. This is actually only mounted with one bolt as well, and there are miscellaneous bolt holes throughout the rest of the frame rail. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to try and reposition my horn into a fashion that'll work, and then move this oil vapor bottle over one hole. That way I can then have access to at least a parallel straight line to where I can possibly add my brackets and mounting system for my headlights. Got the oil vapor bottle moved, and I believe that's going to give me the clearances that I need to try and run a parallel length, or at least a similar space on the frame on both sides to try and mount these headlights. I started thinking about how I was going to actually get everything mounted to the frame rail, and then I had an idea from a previous project that ended up, I made a part that I didn't use before, and I might be able to repurpose it now. I still have these bumper bracket things that I made before that I think might work. Now, I know that these will slot over the pocket of the frame. They will be able to sit flush in there. However, I'm not necessarily thinking about making this a captive piece as much as bolts onto the side of the frame rail. So here's what I'm thinking. My idea is that I'm going to use this piece of steel here, but I only want to use one section of it. I only want to use an L section. I had initially welded in some captive nuts on a rod here to be able to pick up from a bolt hole on the back side of it. However, what I think all I really need is something that goes along and butts up against the edge of the frame, and I think that this will work perfectly well. It already does have some holes drilled into it, so I can kind of start making some selections, but I am going to need to cut this up again because these ends here that are closed over are not going to work out. So what I think I'm going to do is just trim off the edge right around here, right behind this captive nut, so that way I can get the pieces to separate and be left with just what I need. But I want to start by cutting just this excess off. So I've been long at it, and it's one of those days where it just turns out that the work's got to go ahead of the filming. I haven't really been having anything set up in the background for time lapse or talking to the camera a lot because I've just been trying to figure out the best way to actually get everything on here. What I actually ended up coming up with was a bracket that would go across the frame rail and then have two uprights to where I can fasten my headlights to. And that's what this looks like. So I'm still working on getting everything together, but I do have my two pocket brackets, if you will, or the side bolt brackets where this will actually sit on top of the frame rail on either side and then have a bolt, probably two, run through it. And then I'm going to position these uprights and then get them cleaned up and welded on. The intention of the uprights is that they are going to come upright into the center of this, behind the fender, but then poke out just a little bit over the top. I'm planning on adding some kind of 90-degree angle iron or something to the bracket and the uprights so that I can mount the headlights to that. Okay, so now I have figured out how I'm going to mount my headlights. I've got the bracket drying outside right now. I've got my two sides of the bracket, the cross rail, the uprights, and some tabs that I found that I was able to weld on. I'm going to let that dry. Now is back to the more important part of the headlights. That was one big headache I had to figure out, but I had to figure that out so I knew where I was going to put my wiring. Now it's time to work on the body side of the vehicle and see exactly what I can do to get these connectors together. I should have all the diagrams I need. I've got my headlight for reference. I just need to figure out what's high and low coming from the car and turn signals. So let's do that. So now that we've got the first headlight pinned out onto the vehicle, fingers crossed, let's test it and make sure that it works. We've got DRL first. There won't be any DRL because this is not hooked up to that. I don't think that I have a wire run for it. But DRL first. Let's check our turn signal. Turn signal works. Let's go ahead and check our low beam. Ooh. Blinded by the light. And let's go ahead and check our high beam. I don't know if it's really showing up on camera too well, but it is flipping between low and high beam. It just might not be something you can see too well on the camera, or it just may not be too bright. But that's good. So that means that we have everything correct as far as our wiring through the entire car, out to the headlight, how it's pinned into the headlight, and how it's connected. Everything's good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and get stuck into the next one while the paint's still drying on that bracket. Hopefully the next time I come back, I'll have both headlights tested, and I should be putting in the headlight bracket. Let's keep on going. At this point, I've been in the cold and wet for about 6 hours, which is probably about 2 hours longer than I had actually planned for. Now, that's okay, because ultimately I still did get the project finished. So let's take a look and see how good it looks. It all works, and nothing caught on fire. A+ win. Alright, well, it may have taken all day and a lot longer than I had originally anticipated or hoped for. However, the volunteer car has front headlights. I was able to get that bracket made up. As far as how it will work out, time will tell. It's probably going to be a little flimsy. It's just a piece of strap steel across it, but I don't have very many options. There's limited space, and I did not want to cut to the body or weld anything onto the frame if I could help it. So, job well done. On that note, I want to thank you for making it to the end of the episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe to New Yankee Auto Systems. And remember to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/New Yankee Auto. We've got pretty much a new video coming every week. Hopefully we can keep up that pace, and hopefully here by April, maybe it's close to April now, who knows? hopefully we'll have both of these cars done and at least one of them on the road very soon. Till then, see you on the next one.